Now on CoastTV News.
The race is on for Delaware's 20th House District. Tonight, we hear from both candidates in a public forum. Record breaker Chincoteague's pony auction just made history with bids hitting six figures. The ponies that stole the show.
As the storms pass, dumping a tremendous amount of water along the way.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
These two women talking Sussex solutions. Good evening. I'm Christina DeRobertis. Thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with a special election fast approaching. There is a vacant seat in the Delaware House of Representatives, but in just 5 days, a special election will determine whether Democrat Alana Berry or Republican Nikki Miller will be the new face of District 20. And as Coast TV reporter Emma Aiken shows us, the two women each shared their vision for the future tonight.
A full forum with people in District 20 eager to hear what Democrat Alana Berry and Republican Nikki Miller see for the future of the area. The women are facing off in a special election on August 5th. Hosted by the League of Women Voters of Sussex County, the candidates were asked a variety of questions from the league as well as the public. When asked, how would you work with Governor Matt Meyer's administration, here's what they had to say.
Any bill that I would write, any piece of legislation that I would co-sponsor or champion, I would make sure that the governor's office is in and understands the intent of that bill from the beginning.
I believe that the governor needs somebody with a little bit more experience than him in the classroom and in leadership and education to be able to support his work, obviously in a very kind and supportive way.
The two women agreed on several topics, saying both support DEI and women's right to choose. Both campaigning on strong education backgrounds, they were asked what Delaware's school funding formula should be and what next steps should be taken.
We are hurting our most at-risk kids by paying the teachers less to teach them. And then you have high turnovers because the teachers can drive a few more miles and make more money doing the same thing.
We're operating in a funding formula that is not meeting the needs of our students and our teachers and our parents today. We have got to figure out how to completely restructure the way that we fund our schools.
Two women vying for one empty House seat. In Milton, Emma Aiken, Coast TV News.
Now, here's how we got here. The District 20 seat, that was held by Stell Parker Selby, but Parker Selby missed every single day of the legislative session this year after suffering a stroke. Parker Selby then resigned on June 24th. And the Department of Elections says about 22% of registered voters in the 20th District have already voted. That means over 4,500 people have gone to the polls. And from now until August 3rd, the early voting schedule is 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's only two early voting locations. Those are Lewis Elementary and Mariner Middle School. Election day is August 5th, with many more polling places open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. For more on the early voting, the special election, also details on each candidate, you can check out CoastTV.com. Now we're looking live outside into Lewis, and we're going to turn things to our first alert chief meteorologist, Paul Williams. Paul, a lot of rain coming through this evening.
Indeed, but right now we get a chance to enjoy the calm after the storm. So now things have subsided a bit for us, and right true to form as we thought earlier, this was more of a rainmaker than, let's say, a wind problem. For Lewis, it's 74 degrees right now, dew point temperature 73, still a great deal of moisture in the atmosphere for us right now, and we are expecting for it to stay in the mid to low 70s. Now, we had a flood watch that was in effect, that just expired when we came back on the air, but the last remnants of the rain is pulling out of the way and beginning to subside. We're seeing it begin to dry out very quickly for us. The orange you see is actually a marine warning. Now, as far as the amount of rain, estimates of over 4 inches where you see the purple in Salisbury, close to Lewis, and just on the other side in Maryland. But more exact totals that we've observed, we've had over 2 inches for us in Lewis as well as Indian River Inlet, just shy of 2 inches in Stokely, 1 3/4 more so in Harbison. And also here's some of the numbers, particularly in Rehoboth Beach, we had about 1.5 inches and some of the other locations listed here. Coming up, we'll talk about what to anticipate with the cooler conditions over the weekend, Christina.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Well, after a successful pony swim yesterday, today's Chincoteague pony auction broke multiple records. Here's just one of the foals that was up for bidding today. The highest bid for a buyback pony was $100,000. It's the highest for a take-home pony was $50,000. Both of those new records for the auction. Nearly 100 ponies were up for auction today, and $1 million was raised. One winning bidder says being here is a dream come true.
I've been following these ponies for years. I've been watching these auctions online. So the first time I came here was when I was 12 years old, and I haven't been back since. I'm getting the chills. And so this was like a bucket list to come here.
It can give you the chills, it sure can. And tomorrow, the adult ponies from the herd, they'll swim back to Chincoteague Island, where they're going to live until it's time for next year's pony swim. Well, a positive story in Salisbury today. Instead of spending their summer break sleeping in, a group of teens spent their morning walking the streets of Salisbury picking up trash. They're part of a week-long camp for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and their service project brought in multiple groups from Delaware and Maryland to help clean Route 13.
I think it's really important for everyone all the way around because it can teach other people that it's important not to litter and to kind of just save the environment, because as you can tell, it's kind of going downhill. There's a lot of litter outside, but it's also just serving how the Lord served us. So that's why I think it's important.
And those teens were able to divide and conquer almost 5 miles of ground throughout the city. If you have driven through Dewey Beach, you probably noticed construction right up against Coastal Highway on Rodney Avenue. That's for the future 3-story town hall that broke ground in May. The second phase of the project would include an EMS station, the first of its kind to come to Dewey. And CoastTV spoke with one man who says this is essential to the beach town.
We tend to have a lot of needs for things like that in terms of response times because of obviously the ocean and a lot of the activities, but also because of the bars.
Dewey officials say the 2-year, $11.4 million project is still on track. Expensive upgrades hanging over the heads of people in Worcester County. The water treatment plant in Newark, Maryland, it's more than 40 years old, and its aging equipment, in part, has led to discolored water. County leaders say they're working on a long-term solution, but in the meantime, officials have installed filters at people's homes for free. Neighbors say so far they're happy with the results.
Right now, the improvement to our water is rather cheap, and we're hoping that it lasts for years.
The county could take out a loan from its general fund, but that cost would fall on neighbors. So for the time being, the county says it will continue to pursue federal dollars and grant opportunities. Well, severe turbulence struck a Delta flight Wednesday, causing service carts, also unbelted passengers, to hit the ceiling and forcing an emergency landing. The airline said Delta Flight 56 landed safely in Minneapolis and was met by medical teams upon arrival. Transportation authorities now investigating, and as Ivan Rodriguez reports, all this on day 2 of hearings in Washington probing the D.C. mid-air collision between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines jet earlier this year.
Just as dinner service began on Delta Flight 56 from Salt Lake City to Amsterdam,
we hit the craziest turbulence I've ever seen in my life.
Another passenger on the plane says people who didn't have their seatbelts on were at most risk.
Everyone that didn't they hit the ceiling and then they fell to the ground. And the carts also hit the ceiling and fell to the ground, and people were injured.
The plane made an emergency landing in Minneapolis. 25 people on board were taken to local hospitals, and the airline says the majority have been released. The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the incident. Meanwhile, in the nation's capital, the NTSB continued questioning witnesses regarding January's deadly mid-air collision in D.C. between an American Airlines regional jet and an Army Black Hawk helicopter.
Our objective today is to thoroughly understand crew dynamics and air traffic control and operations.
NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy growing frustrated with some of the answers given by representatives of the FAA and Army after 10 hours of testimony Wednesday. The hearing's revelations included that Army helicopters would regularly fly below aircraft that were descending to land at Reagan National Airport.
Why did it take 67 lives to be lost and families who are just destroyed forever to understand what was occurring.
A determination of what caused the crash will come in January. In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
And we have more news to get into this evening. Coming up, a canopy crackdown. Dewey Beach seeing more people breaking the rules of the beach. But first, Mare Memories, the nonprofit celebrating 25 years of rescues and rehab in Delaware. That's up next.
Here's a look at your Bay forecast. We're expecting cloudy skies for Friday as we cool down going into the weekend. I'll show you just how cool we'll get in 60 seconds.
There are so many unique things along the coast of Delmarva. Take our waters, for example, where we have marine animals, sea turtles. And in this week's Coastal Connections, reporter Emma Aiken introduces us to an organization that has spent the last 25 years protecting those things right here in Delaware.
Flipping through memories. And there is a lot of them for Suzanne Thurman. She's the founder of the Marine Education, Research, and Rehabilitation Institute. Most Delawareans know the nonprofit as MARE, and MARE is celebrating 25 years this year.
It's been a really wonderful and heartwarming journey.
That journey began from Thurman's love for animals and the environment. Back in 1995, she was volunteering for the state and recalls a moment that changed it all.
I remember rescuing that seal and I thought, oh, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, and it just really resonated with me, and I'm very fortunate I found a way to be able to do that.
4 years later in 1999, Thurman and a loggerhead sea turtle crossed paths. The creature, cold and stunned, had no resources in Delaware at the time to help her.
So I had to bring her home and keep her alive in my laundry room overnight, and that not ideal for her, but I tried to keep her moist and comfortable. And I remember she had barnacles all over her shell, and they were clattering because they were out of water. She served such a big purpose because I could see how much these animals needed care right away, and how many of them could be saved or at least ease their suffering. And also document them.
That sea turtle rescue inspired the start of MARE, having no idea it would shell out to more than 5,000 rescues over the last quarter century, including whales, dolphins, porpoises, seals, and sea turtles. But Thurman says you just can't save every one of them. That's why prevention through education is so important.
The legacy that I do want for this community is our education center. And that will be such a resource here.
Thurman says she couldn't have done the last 25 years without the community's support. And she's proud to say that MARE's had more than 500 volunteers.
I love knowing that we're in this community, and that I know that we've had so much support, and that support will just continue on and on. I don't see people all of a sudden not caring about these animals, so it's a wonderful partnership.
Thurman explained that being on call 24/7 certainly doesn't come without its hardships, but as she reflects on the pictures that weave together MARE's 25 years, she's reminded of what's important. What's been work for MARE has been a life saved for many of the coast's cutest creatures. For Coastal Connections, I'm Emma Aiken.
We had a couple of isolated pockets of severe thunderstorms that prompted some warnings, but for the most part, we were mainly just kind of gauging the amount of rain that fell in some different areas. We've got some numbers that we want to pass along to you because it was impressive in some areas, to be quite honest. Take a look at our ocean view camera, gutter helmet, pardon me. We're looking for a few leftover lingering sprinkles at best between 1 and 2 o'clock with cloudy skies. Most of the areas have gone ahead and just cleared out. We had a small amount of precipitation that was left lingering on. It's pushed on throughout the most southern portion of our viewing area. And the last lingering amount had just made its way right off the shore. And we still have some very gusty winds that we're expecting on the out throughout the coastal region. Now we do still have, we had a marine warning. It was just allowed to expire literally 60 seconds ago. And so now it's placed out a little bit farther out in deeper water where we have the storms that are more active, but we do still have the active small craft advisory in our neck of the woods. Now, we know the rain is over with. Let's take a look at some of the damage that was done by that. So here's a look at how the last remnants of the scattered showers pushing across right along Highway 1. And as it pushes off, we're seeing that it's still forming some storms that's causing concern for a bit of hail. But this is a different view here. This is our accumulation estimator, or estimated accumulation of rain, courtesy of our Doppler radar. Now over here near Bruceville, we actually had an accumulation estimated, once again, at about 6.5 inches there. Now we pull over here a little bit closer towards Delmar. We had an accumulation right along Old Racetrack Road of about 4.25, and we had over nearly 1.5 more than that near Mollyfield Road, near Holly Acres. And then finally, we take a pit stop over towards Sandy Bree and Gospel Mill, around Mulberry Knoll Road, about 4.25 inches. Now, some official sites that recorded the actual rainfall that fell. Lewis over 2 inches there, as well as Indian River Inlet, nearly 2 inches in Stokely, over 1.5 inches in Jones Crossroads. Now, also we had 1.5 inches in Rehoboth, over 1 inch in Prime Hook, Laurel, just shy of 1 inch in Ellendale and Slaughter Beach, and just over 1/2 inch for us in Seaford. As far as the month is concerned, we are 3.25 beyond the normal rainfall amounts for the month. And for the year, we're over 5 inches ahead of schedule. So we've had more than our fair share of precipitation. Now it's moving out of the way. For the coast tomorrow, look for cloudy skies everywhere with temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. And as far as the rest of the night is concerned, I'm not overly concerned about any additional precipitation. The winds are going to pick up, mainly moving out of the north. That's going to help us to cool off tremendously going into the weekend. So Friday stays cloudy in Assateague, and then we stay pretty close to the same numbers for the next 3 days in a row. Fenwick Island, same thing, 78 with a few leftover morning sprinkles. Then after that, we go 80 and 80 for Saturday and Sunday. Lewis, 81, 81. But here's the thing. It's the overnight and early morning temperatures where things change dramatically. Here we go. We're looking at 76, 80, 81. But look at these numbers, 62, 64, 61, and 63. I'd say that's bona fide cool.
I think so. Thank you, Paul. Well, many of us here on the coast love visiting the beach and trying to get the best spot that's closest to the ocean. But in Dewey Beach, people are getting to the beach early, but then leaving their setups. The town rule in Dewey is that canopies cannot be set up before 9 a.m. and left unattended. Earlier this week, officials from the town put some warning tags on people's canopies who were breaking those rules. The town says as of now, the warning tags seem to be working, but they say that's the furthest they're going to go when it comes to enforcement. And the last thing they want to do is fine people for the issue. One visitor CoastTV spoke with says she's fine with people setting up early.
I wish stuff wasn't as unattended, maybe, setting up and leaving it for hours. But, we like to set up early and take a walk on the beach or go to a restaurant, and we feel that, we should just be allowed to do that.
Again, the town says they think those warning tags are working because they put a few on some canopies out on the beach, and they noticed the next day the issue seemed to be resolved. It's also not just Dewey Beach. Canopy conversations also happening in South Bethany. Leaders there pitching in on whether or not they should regulate canopies and tents. Possible rules include size, how long canopies can be on the beach, and how many sides they have. Ocean City and Fenwick Island recently adopted beach tent and canopy regulations. The discussion comes from concerns that large tents can obstruct views or access to the beach, but one beachgoer says regulation would be an overstep.
I think the umbrellas are a little bit more dangerous than the larger tents because of the, pole that goes in doesn't always get secured. I think the larger tents actually have a better foundation, so it's safer for everybody on the beach.
The proposal is expected to be talked over at a town council meeting next week in South Bethany. And now to our CoastTV poll. We want to know what you think about this. What do you think is the best way to stop early tent setups? Looking at the results, 66% say there needs to be more enforcement, 25% bigger fines, 2% say public reminders, 7% say, hey, just allow them there earlier. We want to know what you think. Go to coasttv.com or use our mobile app. You can vote and you can see some updated results online. Coming up, another day on the diamond. The Delmarva Sports Network's Darren Wallace has the latest softball highlights. And also a painful condition often overlooked, now getting national attention. The efforts to raise awareness about uterine fibroids. That's up next.
This is Coast TV News at 11.
We're back now with health news. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration taking new action in the fight against the opioid crisis. Today, the FDA announced major changes to warning labels on prescription painkillers. Opioid medications will now carry stronger safety labels that better reflect the risks of long-term use. The updated labels will remove language that could be seen as supporting indefinite use and include new warnings about dose-related risks and withdrawal. July is considered Fibroid Awareness Month. The goal to educate people about uterine fibroids, their symptoms, and available treatment options. And as Karen Kaifa reports, right now there's a push to make the designation official.
Janelle Henry was diagnosed with fibroids a few weeks before her 40th birthday. She didn't know what they were and says it was a confusing time.
What I did realize was that it could affect my fertility and it could affect just my quality of life. And so I started studying about fibroids.
Uterine fibroids are the most common non-cancerous tumor or growths in women of childbearing age. According to the Mayo Clinic, Black women in the U.S. are up to 3 times more likely than white women to develop uterine fibroids. Henry learned about the different treatment options, including a hysterectomy, where doctors remove the uterus and sometimes other reproductive organs.
I wanted to preserve my fertility options, and so I decided to have a myomectomy 2 years after that diagnosis. And that was a long healing process, but I had a fantastic team.
Henry is the director of programs for the White Dress Project. It's a nonprofit created to support women with fibroids.
We are going to be empowered by this color, and we're going to take back control of our bodies and really advocate for the things that we need to do to have the quality of life that we deserve.
This month, the White Dress Project joined several other advocacy groups in Washington, D.C. for a roundtable hosted by New York Representative Yvette D. Clarke and some of her congressional colleagues. Clarke is sponsoring a uterine health legislative package and is hoping to get more support across the aisle.
This is a nonpartisan issue because it affects women across the spectrum. Black women have a higher prevalence, but it doesn't mean that we're the only women that are experiencing this.
Clarke and one of the bill's co-sponsors, Representative Chantel Brown of Ohio, both struggled with fibroids for years.
Too many women have dealt with this in silos and in silence. And we want to break the silos and the silence and the stigma around this issue.
Clarke's legislative package is comprised of 4 bills, including the Stephanie Tubbs Jones Uterine Fibroids Research and Education Act. It honors the late Congresswoman who first introduced the bill in 2001 and calls for more research funding, along with increasing education and training for medical professionals.
We need a generation of OBGYNs that understand exactly what this means to women's bodies.
There's also the You Fight Act, the Uterine Cancer Study Act, and the Uterine Fibroids Awareness Month resolution. In addition to lawmakers and advocacy groups, Oscar Award-winning actress Lupita Nyong'o is sharing her personal journey to help raise awareness.
I think that we are making tremendous progress, normalizing the conversation. This is something that happens way too often. And it deserves to get some greater understanding around the cause, the cure, and more treatment options.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
The Delmarva Sports Network from the Wawa Studios.
Good evening, sports fans. It's been a busy Thursday. You already know the ladies were going at it at Henry S. Parker. Let's get right to the highlights. And where else, like I said, but Henry S. Parker Athletic Complex, this time for USSSA bracket play. It's the New Jersey Mystics Premier and the Delaware Fury in this one after a scoreless first inning. Madeline McGinn, she shops at the Bomb Factory. She crushes a solo homer to left field to put the Mystics ahead 1-0 in the top of the second inning. And she's taking her time on the home run trot, but it's because she's got a good celebration plan. Look at this. She's eating on them, folks. She's eating, and the Mystics are mashing. Then later on in the same inning, it's a similar result. The ball stays in the yard, but Olivia Croye is going to come in to score thanks to this stand-up double by Mallory Engel. She gets into second standing up. And later on in the inning, the rally, it would just keep on going. Molly Doppler is going to smash this ball over the fence, but on a hop
for a ground rule double. Engel will come in to score easily and make it 3-0 Mystics. We go to the bottom of the fourth. The Mystics with a 6-0 lead. Tori McFarland's going to get into the action here with a line drive base hit. Audrey Gutierrez going to come in to score and make it a 6-1 ball game. Then later on, Ava Ward at the plate. The Fury still trying to fight. She's going to lift a blooper into left field that'll drop in. The Fury cut it to 6-2, but that would be the final score as the Mystics advance in bracket play with the win. That'll do it for sports. Enjoy the rest of your night.
The city of Rehoboth Beach will unveil a new historical marker at a ceremony the morning of August 5th at 9 a.m. It's going to be at the Beach Patrol headquarters. This one denoting the Beach Patrol's long history. And Mayor Stan Mills says it's an honor to receive the state historical designation.
Congratulations to those folks. Ocean City dry tech camera at 76 degrees. We're going to stay in the mid to low 70s for the rest of the night with a few lingering sprinkles. And those sprinkles are even waning as we speak, although we have a few just right off of Bayberry Drive that's still on the backside of the scattered showers, just sliding more out towards deeper water. Our umbrella giveaway winner is Larry Brown of Dagsboro. Congratulations, courtesy of Paul Davis Restoration and Home Remodeling. If you want to keep up with your forecast, call our weather line. The number to call is 443-880-9100. Your forecast is just a call away, sponsored by Brockstead, Mendoza, and Federico. Here's a look at your exclusive 10-day forecast. Listen, when we get into the weekend, we're going to cool off throughout the overnight as we drop to near 60 degrees on a couple of nights.
I might have to break out the Ugg boots. I don't know. Thanks, Paul, and thanks for joining us for Coast TV News at 11. You can find more news, more local weather on our Coast TV News app. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon's up next, and we'll see you tomorrow for Coast TV News at 5 a.m. Have a great night.